Hey Jody, I wanted to show you kind of what I've done here. I've done a little bit of reformatting of the way that these images present, and hopefully this will give us more consistency across. So they're not going to sync up into the red. They shouldn't really sink down into the blue. So what you see for now, and this is in a dev theme, I've got some borders that I've put in here just to sort of give me a rough idea of where the edge of the container is that's keeping the image. And then what I've done here on this image, this is the test image, is I've just in my Photoshop file laid out some really tiny borders that I think might work in terms of, you know, the width and the height. Although you can go higher, well, no you can't, because if you look at the image itself, this is what I've got laid out. I think this is probably going to be the appropriate layout, but I want to maybe test this in a a portrait layout as well. So if we look at this, you know, if the screen is full width, we're really going to get, for the most part, the maximum out of that image. So I think this is why I think this particular layout is going to work best. So let's just say, for example, you take Vegemite and you're going to do some kind of a 3-product layout with Vegemite. I think keeping it in this particular sort of landscape-ish 4x3, although I'll give you the specific dimensions, is going to work best. So, because when we're at full width, you really don't have much white space. And then as we begin to shrink, that image stays pretty consistent overall. And I think what you're going to see, if they're all like this in this particular format, they're all going to kind of shrink at the same rate. They're all going to look pretty good next to each other in the same, you'll have the exact same top to bottom white space beginning to creep in. Once we get down past 1200 pixels, I've made one change here. Instead of going to 2, we're going to 3, because this will bring us back to this kind of nice layout here. And this is where, once we get down into this range, we're like down below iPad level now. So this is between phone and iPad, which is almost, nobody really browses at this size, but this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Not really, but let me just show you one thing that's going to happen here. As we get down to about 870 pixels, you'll notice that the biscuits wraps as well as the Arnott's biscuits. So what that does is pushes the product picture down, because we've got a wrap on the text. Now there is a way that I can modify this particular font size so that it never wraps. It's always going to grow and shrink, which I may just go ahead and do. Otherwise, if we can just take biscuits out of those two, I think that's the only place that's happening. If we just called it Tim Tams, and we just call it Arnott's, then we would eliminate the issue. Otherwise, I'll see if I can't make this a variable width that's going to change with the size. I think the problem there is that what happens is, if I can make it a dynamic size, Tim Tam Biscuits gets just the right size, but something like chips will be absolutely tiny. So that's why I hesitate to use that dynamic size font. So anyway, okay, so now we continue to creep down, and once we get to phone size, which is 767, we're going to be in this. And again, so we're down to 1 now. This is how your phones are most typically going to look. Well, actually, let me actually put it into a phone skin here. So this is 752, and I don't know a device really, other than if somebody turns their phone on the side. But let me actually show you what the phone is going to look like. So with a phone, we're back to this kind of nice layout here. So I think this is going to be the size we want. Let me see if I can turn that on its side. I don't think so. So yeah, but again, we get out here and sort of somebody's got their phone turned on their side. It may look a little bit like this, but that's very rare. So again, some of these odd kind of situations where we're, kind of in this situation here where this wraps, it's not that many people are going to be at that particular size. So if we just look at a standard, here's your browser. Let's just show you what it's going to look like on some real world situations. So, here's a laptop with a 1440 pixel screen. There's a laptop with a 1280 pixel screen. Again, this is the one we're looking at. If we go to an iPhone 8, if we go to an iPhone 10, let's go to an iPad here. iPad, for the most part, people are going to look at it like this. So again, if we look at this as our template, it still looks pretty good. So let me know what you think of that size in the multiple different iterations of sizes. And then if you like that, I think the thing to do would be to, I'll go ahead and send you this template. Maybe do 3 or 4 different products, upload them into the dev and see how they're going to look. Like maybe we do Tim Tams, Shapes, and Vegemite, since those are all next to each other, and see how they look growing and shrinking next to each other as we go. So let me know. Talk to you later.